over the course of this many years have probably made 8 figures from it. So it's like, I mean, 7.
I was like, Natalee, you want to announce something today?
Coffee's on me, folks.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Irregardless. I'm your host, Gabriela Ulloa, and today we are joined by the amazing actress, entrepreneur, and my friend, Natalee Linez.
Hello.
Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
The way I stuttered on your name, Natalee Linez.
It's fine.
You are leaving to somewhere very exciting next week.
I am.
What are you gonna do?
I'm filming season 3 of Tell Me Lies.
Oh my
I feel
God.
like that's music to a lot of people's ears right now because I've been getting comments and DMs for the last year about when are we starting season 3.
We need it because I have watch parties with some of my girlfriends and we yell. A lot of yelling.
It's a fun show to yell at the TV.
Unfortunately, you get yelled at on the screen. When you're preparing for a role and you're like, this person's not gonna be very liked, how do you create this connection with them? Because I feel like in order to understand them, you have to have empathy for them. You gotta get their motives and understand how they do what they do. What does that preparation feel like for you?
So, okay, if you think about it, if you're a serial killer in a show, you cannot hate your character. In real life, serial killers, they're narcissistic. They think that what they are doing in some way, shape, or form is like, okay, right? So Lydia is nowhere near that. I'm just
like,
saying,
are we comparing Lydia?
no, but I'm saying as the character, I don't actually have a problem with Lydia, to answer your question. I didn't read that and go, this bitch. I was like, oh, curious mind turns on.
What a choice.
Yeah, okay, like how did she end up with this guy? Everyone's the main character in their own life for the most part. And so a lot of times, even if you're self-deprecating, you find reasons for your action. So if I were to like judge Lydia, it would be really hard for me to like play her, you know?
Yeah.
So when I first read that scene of episode 10 of season 1, the jaw-dropping scene.
Yes.
I feel like if I just say jaw, right, we all know what scene that is. Yeah,
we all know.
When she walks into the engagement party, I was like, I read it and like first bout was like excitement. I was like, whoa, like juicy, fun. Love to play the plot twist because as an actor too, like
big deal.
Yeah, you want to be doing fun, juicy things versus just like want to get coffee or like, you know what I mean? I was by myself in a hotel room in Atlanta, filming it the next day. And I had no idea I was filming that scene until 12 hours prior. Long story short, episode 1 of season 1 and episode 10, we block shot it. So we shot it in the same day. And then the night before, they're like, okay, so we're actually filming something for episode 10 tomorrow. You have a scene in it. We're going to send that over. And I was like, great, yeah, just send the script. And they're like, you can't get the script yet because they send it script by script, like per episode. So I get the email. And I'm like reading, and it's like this little chunk. And I'm like, I'm like, so it just says like, he's at an engagement party and, you know, looks over and his girlfriend's there and he's talking to Lucy. So it's not Lucy. So I'm like, oh, interesting, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, there she is. And then it was like my character being like, oh my God, this place is crazy. And I was like, I had to process myself. I was like, what the fuck? So it was like that.
Were you mentally prepared for playing a character? I'm like, I don't even ask you this question. For playing a character that people really don't like? In the way that I guess it would translate into your actual life.
I think I was shocked at how disliked that she was. The first DM I got at midnight on the day that that episode came out was, do you have mental problems? Do you need to go to therapy? And I was so confused. I was like, oh shit, like this is for the show. Like,
as if like you're the actual person.
Yeah, as if I'm
you're
the actual
Lydia
person.
making Lydia's decisions.
Literally.
Yeah.
So I never get offended at those things. And to be honest, TikTok has been really nice. People will be like, I hate you. You must be a great actress. You know, and they'll like couple that together. But sometimes I will get sad and have to like separate it when they comment and they're just like, ew, looking at your face makes me sick or something. I'm like,
that's just fucking crazy to say something, but it's like, what?
I'm like, okay, I can separate it.
You're going into the 3rd season of a show that you've been on. You were at the same time, you were on Tell Me Lies, you're on Raising Kanan, you're on Chicago MD. Like just in terms of your career, do you feel like you're at a point where you have more leverage?
Yeah, I think I'm one of the lucky ones that's working right now, that has been working for the past 5 years. So to answer your question, the leverage I have is like, I'm a working actor. Let me audition for this. But I'm not getting straight offers, which people weirdly think that I am. It's just these days, as in like the last 7 months. It's been, and I know this not just from me, but from all my peers, that it's just like very, very slow. And it has to do with a lot of politics, AI, money, companies merging, which actors don't give a fuck about. So yeah, we just have to kind of try to figure out why this is happening.
I feel like you keep yourself really busy in the interim because you have your course, your acting course that we'll talk about coming out in September. You're coaching, you're acting coaching. You're constantly auditioning, I feel like, from what I see on social media, which is, by the way, I love how much you actually share the behind the scenes because I think it's very helpful for people. But do you feel like having all of those other things alleviates the pressure a little bit of like, I need to book this thing because it's my livelihood?
Yes, 100%. My advice to any human, really, but anyone pursuing a career in the arts, especially acting, is you need to have something else that you love to do. And it's not a backup plan. Literally, it's not. It's just like, oh, I'm a full human being and I do other things that I enjoy. When you go onto set, the director wants to chat with you in like a real way. And if you're just, yeah, no, I just auditioned and like, I haven't worked in a really long time, but yeah, what are you up to? Like, what do you do? And they're like, oh, well, I love to garden and I have a family and I do this and I do that. And they're the ones like bringing everything to the conversation. Like, that's no fun. There's that reason. There's also like your own mental health and literal sanity, because even if you're a working actor, unless you are the lead on like 2 shows, you have multiple days a year where you're just like chilling. And unless you're really okay, which by the way is really cool, if you're okay with just like, oh, you know what? I'm going to go on a walk today and tomorrow and the next day. The next day.
Amazing. Sign me up.
Then you're good. But unfortunately, I get a little bit like antsy.
Yeah.
So I've had to put that creativity in other areas.
I'm trying to remember if I heard this from a person or I read it in an interview. So we'll decide if it makes it in the edit, it means I read it in an interview. But I remember hearing how when she's interviewing somebody, especially to be her assistant, allegedly, Anna Wintour will ask them about their hobbies or about what else they do outside of their scope of work, because she wants to understand them as like well-rounded human beings. And the word on the street is like, if you don't have a hobby, if you don't have something else going for you, she's like, no, thank you.
That's all.
Literally. When I first met you, one of the things that we were bonding over was just our obsession and freaky nature for loving habits and all that sort of stuff. Talk to me about how you structure your days.
Favorite part of my day is the morning.
Okay, why?
Morning routine is everything, in my opinion, because it sets you up for your day. I don't know about you guys, but if I wake up and I scroll on social media, if I do that first thing in the morning, I genuinely will have a less productive day.
Same.
Yes, right?
Yes.
And most people you talk to, if you were to ask that question, they would be like, oh yeah, I feel shitty too. And that's because you're bombarded with things that you have no control over.
Yeah.
It's like whatever the internet wants you to see, even if that is something fun, like a fun party last night, right? But in your mind, you might be like, I wish I was there. Oh, I feel shitty. Oh, I don't want to get up and get ready and go to the gym. Why would I do that? I'm worthless. I don't want to do that. You know what I mean? And that's just how the human mind works. So I like to protect that as much as possible. A superhero habit, let's call it, that I've cultivated for the last like 5 years is not going on my phone for the first at least hour of my day.
You don't even check it to make sure there's like no emergency, nothing.
No. And so that's the other thing. Like if you're a mom or you're taking care of your siblings or anything like that, like there are reasons to look at your phone. For me, genuinely, as like a single, as in not married, no kids, young woman, I can get away with because I wake up at like 6 a.m.
Yeah.
From 6 to 8 a.m. to not be like glued to my phone. I didn't make this up, but I heard you lose an hour in the morning, you spend the rest of your day looking for it. So if you're like, you get up late, then you scroll for 20 minutes, now you're rushing, you're spending the rest of your day trying to find that hour that you could have had to like breathe and chill in the morning. I feel like one thing we're all missing is purpose, like lacking what we want to do with our life because of how fast paced everything is. And one way to find that is through silence and cultivating creativity. And creativity comes from silence.
You brought up control and the things that we can't control. And I feel like your industry, like a lot of industries, there's so much uncertainty wrapped around it. Yeah. Is there something that you know for certain to be true?
I know for certain that nothing that happens to me within the realm of this industry that I'm pursuing is personal. It's not toward me, Natalee. Like, not booking a role is not because I'm a bad person, actor, I'm mean, I'm annoying, I'm weird. It's not personal. It has to do with so many other elements. And I'm telling you, that has, hopefully won't always, but I almost want to say will always be one of the hardest things to deal with, is not taking things like, oh man, you don't want me for that role. You don't want my storyline to be bigger. Oh, you don't want me to be in another episode. If you lose your self-worth or self-love, you are going to crumble quick. Honestly, pursuing any career. So if you feel like that is something that is tender, you should like go home tonight and be like, ooh, okay, I'm going to dive in and figure out where in childhood or adolescence or wherever, where I lost that confidence or where I felt it. Because I remember it when I was 12, I had it. And then, oh my God, when I was 15, it shattered. Where did it go? Finding that and healing it and bringing it into your life wherever you are, because, you know, that is magnetic and that can lead to help with those thoughts of like, okay, hold on. It's not me. I'm great. I do my best. I'm not a bad person. It's not my fault. Let's move on.
You and I have talked before off camera a ton about just the idea that rejection and all of this, it's just a different form of, it's just data. It's all just data. I am curious to talk about your Latinidad because this is a new discovery for you.
Yeah.
And so you weren't really raised around your Peruvian culture. Once that sort of entered your life, did that alter, I guess, like the way that you thought about your identity, about yourself, about the way you fit? Not to put you in a box or anything like that, but.
Yeah, it's actually crazy. So I grew up in Orange County. Do you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. OC bubble. So growing up, and my family is like very white. My mom is like blonde hair, total Orange County mom. My sisters are like very fair. Like one of them's blonde, the other's brunette. And when I was younger, I didn't know, but my sister now tells me, she's like, oh, like you were treated differently. But my mom was so protective. My mom like loved me so much. And she just always called me like so cute. And like, I like thought I was like the cutest thing walking. I didn't register, but looking back now that I'm an adult, even with like family members who are like a little bit removed and stuff, I'm like, I was treated differently. And at school and stuff like that, because I went to like private Christian school. When I was 16 is when I found out that my dad that raised me wasn't my biological dad. And my dad that raised me is blonde hair, blue eyes, 100% Swedish. So I was very mentally twisted because I remember being younger and him picking me up from school and me being like, that's my dad. The blonde, yeah. See you guys, I'm like you know, which looking back, I'm like, oh, poor thing. Like I wasn't even like sad about it or anything, but why am I saying that? Like, why am I thinking that? You know what I mean? So when I found that out, I think it was a mini identity like crisis, but I didn't know it until going to therapy like 5 years ago. And that's when I put up a shield and I was like, okay, I've been lied to my whole life about who I am by the people closest to me. I'm going to put my head down. And I've always wanted to be an actor since I was 6 years old. And I was like, I'm going to pursue this thing and no one can stop me. And the people that shunned me, fuck you, I'm going to make this dream happen. And so that is what propelled me to like truly put my head down. When you're 20 and living in LA, you have two roads you can go down. You can like literally, very bad example at this time, but like you can literally go to like Justin Bieber's and party, or you can be like, no, I can't go because I need to find an agent. You know what I mean? And that is truly, I think I went to like a couple weird house parties and I was like, I don't like this. I also need to prove a point and I need to, you know, make it. I need to make my dream come to fruition because no one's doing it for me and things don't come easily for me. Not that I had that limiting belief, but like, it's not going to be easy. Like you're on your own, kid, you know.
Since finding out, have you been curious to explore that side of yourself and your roots?
I mean, I want to go to Peru. I don't know much about my biological dad. There might be curiosity in like finding more out about him. I know that like my grandma was born and raised in Peru, which is like really, really cool. I haven't crossed that bridge yet.
Yeah.
Because it's gonna be like a figuring out type of thing. So yes, the curiosity is absolutely there.
I appreciate you sharing that story for so many reasons, so thank you. But I think there's probably a lot of people that can identify with having some part of their culture or discovering a part of their culture at some point in their life and feeling very othered because of it. And whether or not they shut it out in order to survive or just keep it pushing, then hitting a certain point in your life where you want to confront it in a different way and you want to now embrace it can feel really confusing.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just like don't even want to and know where to start. And I will never judge somebody for that because you will never understand what it's like being in their position.
And also it's confusing to feel confident in being like wanting to pursue finding out more about it because you don't really identify. So you're like, oh, well, am I a part of this culture or this place? And it's like, yeah, you literally are.
You literally have the blood.
You know what I
running through you. I mean, listen, do you remember that? Have you seen that Jenna Ortega interview where the interviewer, she was talking about how she doesn't speak Spanish, and the interviewer was like, "You're Latina enough. Like, like you're Latina enough because you have it through your veins." And I'm really happy because there's so much division within the Latin community for a multitude of reasons. But I'm so happy that we're finally really, really, really celebrating everybody's unique differences because I think one of the major things is like you're lumped together as this monolith that we are just not, and there's so many different cultures within it. But we ride for one another.
Yeah.
And we're like, no, bitch, you got that blood in you. So if you want to explore it, it's yours to explore.
I love that.
Don't feel like a fraud. Don't feel like you're not this, not that. Like we all go through that to a different extent, whether it's you don't speak Spanish or your Spanish isn't great or, you were raised in the US or you were raised, whatever it is.
Raised in a white little, bubble and totally.
Yes.
Yeah,
Which,
that's
again,
a great point.
To the point of like not judging someone, it's like I can't imagine what that experience was like through your shoes and through your lens as a little kid, not understanding why you're not being treated the same as your siblings. And then now having that information, and that information is what was othering you. So now you're like, well, what do I do with this?
Exactly. And I'm only 30. I bet at 50, I'm going to be like just discovering, what that experience was like in my teens and 20s. Like I'm just understanding that was even a thing right now. So a lot of discovery to be had.
Do you bring in your personal experiences into your acting roles?
Yes, I do if it is similar to what is going on. So I can do that. I can be like, oh, she's getting cheated on. I've felt that and I will use that. I don't mind. But sometimes things have not happened to me. So I have to create something completely different, obviously. But yeah, I'm totally a person who I have to because I don't have my emotions on my sleeve. So I have to like work for them. And using from my experiences is helpful.
Is there something that throughout your mentorship that you talk to actors, is there something that you hear people say constantly that you're just like, I fucking wish they would stop saying that? Because I could just see how it's holding them back.
Oh yeah, so many things. One limiting belief that I don't think people understand, haven't fully gone into force yet, and I don't know if it will, is influencers becoming actors.
Okay, say more.
They're like, oh, influencers are taking all my jobs or whatever. And by the way, I've been pursuing acting since I was 20, had no followers. I booked my first show at 23. Like someone could go to my Instagram page and judge me and be like, that's an influencer. No, anyone who knows me knows that that is not the case. But my point is so I'm not trying to ride for influencers. I'm saying that it is still a traditional method of a breakdown comes out for a show. Agents and managers see the breakdown from the casting directors. A breakdown is a character description. It's not like this whole like a bunch of social media influencers are being pushed to them and they're like, oh, she has 300K. Like legally, they're not allowed to look at our social media. Fun fact. They tried this a few years ago. I'm not going to name names, but as in people, but Netflix, they tried a couple movies, doing a couple influencers as leads, and they didn't do well. They took that model and they're like, we're going to put that aside for now. Tell Me Lies is a perfect example. None of those actors even have social media, barely. They're all incredible. And you put an ensemble cast together and you're like, here's a successful show that's doing 3 seasons. And you can't just throw a bunch of random people on a show. It's not going to do well. And the networks are going to lose money. So they're not down. Also, the other reason is there's so many cooks in the kitchen choosing who books this role. You might be able to get past the casting director, I guess, if you met someone, but you have executive producers, directors, writers, showrunners, all having to make this huge decision. And just because you met an awesome, producer at a party, maybe you can like go through a couple hoops, more, I guess. But the reality is you still have to be auditioning. And Nepo people will tell you, their favorite thing to probably tell people is like, trust me.
I worked hard.
I had to, I know. They still
have your foot in the door, but you
it
have
gets
to do
your foot in the door. There's
Yeah.
still more things to, that you have to go through. For me, it's just a complete ground up approach of like, all right, get the agent. Let me try to meet some casting directors through my agent via auditioning. Let me get some good feedback from those casting directors. Oh, they liked my tape. Great. They'll bring me back again, get brought back again, book a guest star, and kind of go from there. That's what I did.
That approach is so helpful. And I think it's also inclusive to people who want to get into the industry, but feel petrified to do so.
I do want to say one thing though. There are short lists of actors who get offered things all the time.
Sure.
Like Sydney Sweeney was on it for like ever. She probably still is. But it's like pretty much if you get one of these 10 actors, we'll finance your movie. But legally, they still have to try to cast it. So I often audition for roles that are already.
Do you know that when you're auditioning for it?
You don't know it. You're allowed to ask, but I don't ask. I'm like, there's so few auditions right now. I'm like, let me have fun. When I used to audition in person, I used to like cry after every single audition.
Why? Was it just like an overwhelmed cry?
It was like adrenaline. So it was like you get the audition, you prep it, do your hair and makeup, you drive to the audition. So it's at Warner Brothers, let's say. You park on the 10th floor of the parking structure because everything else is reserved for the people working at Warner Brothers. You walk to the gate, you forget your ID in the car. So you have to walk back to your car to get the ID. And then you go through the gate and they're like, yeah, so you're gonna go all the way down to stage 27. You're gonna make a left, go up to the second floor. If you go all the way down, you're gonna see, David Smith's office. And yeah, you'll just sign in right there. You have 8 pages memorized in your brain. And you're just like, okay, yeah, like, And then by the time I would get there, I'd be like excited. And then you would do it and they'd be like, great. And so it would be literally 90 seconds. It would be like 2 to 4 minutes, 1 to 4 minutes. And so what would happen is I would walk out and like, I was like kind of high from like adrenaline and like anxiety, but like good anxiety, but like scared anxiety. And then it would go drop and be like, what just happened to me? And then it was like no good feelings because you didn't play in there or anything like that. And so you'd be like, okay, well, I didn't book that. And that was so stressful and like, holy fuck. And so then I would start crying.
Any superstitious quirks?
Well, I don't talk about like any auditions or like any callback, any pin, which is a bad thing, by the way, because I should be
excited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I should be what's the fucking word?
Thrilled, excited.
Yeah, I should be like
proud. What are we looking for?
What's it called when you celebrate? I should be celebrating those little wins.
Happiness.
Yes.
That's the word we're looking for.
Of like, oh wow, I got pinned, but instead I like keep it in. And I'm like, oh my God, tell anyone because it's gonna jinx it.
But also there's like something to be said about not keeping a bunch of people's energy around the thing. I
Yeah.
really believe that.
Yeah.
You tell the people you trust, that you love, that you know truly want to see you win.
Yes,
Other
exactly.
than that, get the fuck out of my
Yeah.
face. You don't need
And
to
I
know my
actually
business.
kind of like being under the radar. My girlfriend Priscilla the other day, she was like, you know what I love about you is like all of a sudden you're like doing something and like no one knew about it. And
Like,
I'm like,
yeah, whatever.
I'm like, yeah, I kind of like that, being
love
like,
that.
okay, building the course, but like not overly talking about it too, because it's like, am I really going to see this through? Like I have to see if I really want to pursue that endeavor to like the end.
I want to hear about this course because I think a lot of people, we've talked about this on the show, especially with the women on the show, which I love, is how much they vouch for one another in the industry. And they're like, no, I get it. There's limited roles, there's limited things, but like, there's space for all of us. We don't need to gatekeep. Let me like show you my sauce. Let me like share you everything. And I feel like that's what this course is doing.
Yes, exactly. And I use the word course, but it's like a master class of like how to fail in acting.
Oh, okay.
That's what it is,
Wow.
baby.
So like,
I'm a professional auditioner and non-booker because I've done it 800 times, but I've succeeded 14. So that is kind of how I'm going about it. It's like, look, I can teach you this because I've done it so many times. I've failed at it so many times, but I've also, over the course of this many years, I've probably made 8 figures from it. So it's like, I mean, 7.
I was like, Natalee, you want to announce something today?
Coffee's on me, folks.
Yeah, I'm like.
But I probably, like, I think that in anything you do, if you've found success, but you failed a bunch of times, but you've also made like money doing it, that you can teach other people, hey, here's how you can support yourself as well and create a business doing this thing, because I've done it. So the course is really teaching you the logistical and business side of acting. So I don't teach Meisner technique or Stanislavski or how to act or find your emotions, but I teach you how to pitch to an agent and manager, how to pitch yourself, market yourself, a complete commercial workshop. Like I've done 25 national commercials, you know, and it's so lucrative. And I want everyone to book commercials because money can bring you, you know, your shoulders down a little bit. It's helpful. And again, commercials are one of those things. If you can harness and cultivate your special sauce, you can succeed at them. So that's part of it too, is like understanding your type, understanding your quirks, understanding what makes you unique. Because what actors do so often, and I fell into this trap for so many years, is trying to be perfect and trying to be right for the casting director, for the agent, for the manager, for the producer, for the director. You need to be right for the director when you get on set. You know, you want to listen and collaborate. But before that, it's all about like, okay, yeah, how can I learn from my mistakes? Sure. But I need to bring me to every meeting and interview and audition. And that's the only way that you're going to find success.
Something I love about you is how open you are about your process and sharing your process, which is something that I love to do, because you hope that one person watching your story, your whatever, listening to an interview, can expand their perception of what's possible for them, even by an inch.
Yeah.
And I feel like you do that really well. And that's part of somebody's legacy. For you, what do you hope your legacy will be?
I would love for people to think of me and think of this at the same time. I hope that people can like unapologetically follow their dreams despite the judgment of other people. And maybe you have to be apologetic. Maybe you have to be like, Mom, Dad, I'm sorry. I can't get my doctorate. Like, I hate it, frankly. I want people to pursue their dreams and passions so badly, because it is the only way that things will, I believe, like organically sort themselves out in your life. Otherwise, you're going to be kind of finding roadblocks throughout and not understanding why, or finding yourself being maybe a little bit sick or like unease, right? Dis-ease in the body, not feeling well. And it's okay to not know your purpose. But I would love for people to create time and space to discover their purpose and discover what makes them truly happy. And I think in this fast-paced society, we've lost that. I know it's hard, but like, I just feel like we're just structured in this way that's like, do this, and then you do this, and then you get married, and then you do this, and then you do this. And it's like, it's not that linear.
Thank you for being here.
Okay, thank you, love you.
Love you.